Hello everyone, my name is Allegra Miller and I'm here to talk with you about tonight's astrology, January 13th, 2021, and the essential oils that will be valuable in alchemizing these energies. Before I get started making specific essential oil references, I do want to strongly emphasize that I'm extremely partial to the brand doterra. That being said, I am only recommending doterra. There's a huge difference in terms of caliber, quality, chemistry, and therapeutic value relative to the properties that I'm referencing in this video. So please keep that in mind. If I can be of service to you in terms of what oils are right for you and your family and how to buy oils, please reach out. I would love to assist you in that journey. I almost didn't do this video tonight because I was just I spent the early part of this morning tending to Capricorn issues in my own life, getting my intentions clear, writing, organizing paperwork, cleaning, things like that, filing a lot of paperwork, getting things organized. And in the light of the new moon, as you may be well aware, this video series is a new endeavor for me, and I'm still in the process of organically aligning with what is best in terms of the presentation. And so I apologize if this has been all kind of over the map in terms of time. I'm getting clear about getting these out ahead of time so that that makes definitely more sense. But being that I did say to you yesterday that I would do another video on the new moon, it wouldn't have felt right to just skip today. So here I am. This new moon is really intense and really powerful, really important in terms of clarifying what does not work in our lives anymore and what will work in the future. As you're probably well aware in listening to yesterday's video, it was a new moon in Capricorn conjunct Pluto. I think it's important to note, and these were some of the points I didn't note yesterday about the specifics, that this new moon is uniquely pertinent to the United States of America in that the U.S. is currently undergoing what's called a Pluto return, which means that Pluto is slowly transiting to the placement of where it was at the birth of the United States, which was July 4th, 1776, 1710 Philadelphia. So based on the astrological chart for that time and date and place, where Pluto was is where Pluto will be in 2022. Why is that pertinent to us now? Well, it seemed important considering news events to sort of highlight this because it's fascinating at the very least. So being that this new moon is conjunct Pluto, U.S. Pluto is in the second house of money. And this new moon is so similar to it at 23 of Capricorn, and U.S. Pluto is at 27 of Capricorn. So what this points to is just a re-envisioning, a revisioning, a rejuvenation of sorts about where we are, what we stand for, and birthing that into being in this new 200-year cycle that we're now a part of, which I've mentioned multiple times is just fundamentally different than the Earth-based 200-year cycle that we ended on December 21, 2020. So anyway, also in the U.S. chart, transiting Pluto is opposing U.S. Mercury, and that's been happening for a while and will continue all year. That's pertinent because Mercury pertains to the news, social media, foreign our relationships with other countries. This means that what is happening in the United States right now will have a bigger ripple effect than otherwise. It always does be in the US, but even more so now with these energies so intense. So I mentioned yesterday that the new moon is so full of friction because every planet is in square to another planet, and Neptune is in square to the nodal axis. So, and I mentioned this being a lot about inner outer authority, inner outer autonomy, power issues. A couple points to reference relative to the actual astrology is that at this new moon, Eris is not only squaring the sun and moon in Capricorn, but also Pluto. That square is all happening and actually forming a T-square with Haumea. Haumea is a dwarf planet outside of Neptune that is linked to the Hawaiian goddess of fertility and regeneration. Basically, the birthing, I think of this as the birthing of a new earth, a new cycle, a new 200-year cycle in air. Eris, the sister of Mars, I've mentioned her many times in the last stretch here. She's the female awakener. Myth has it that she was invited to a wedding and was, that she wasn't invited to a wedding, and she got really upset and just just created mayhem. And that energy is linked to rioting, acting out when one does not feel seen or heard. It is very much an energy of protest. So anyway, these are the energies that we have, and I reference this because we're all, probably most of the people at this point listening to my YouTube channel, being that it's just really been born, are in the US, and we're all especially feeling this energy. And so on a deeper note, how does it pertain to us on an inward cycle of looking at what's happening in the headlines and what's happening analogously in our own headlines of our life? What are we protesting in our lives? What is not, however you want to frame that, the cast of characters all across the board, however you want to take those characters and internalize what it means in the own governing of yourself. I think it's very pertinent to kind of ask that question, like, what's going on? Who's rioting? What's going to happen? What power struggles are happening in my world? And a lot of this pertains to our old selves that many of us have been transforming for a long time now, and awakening from the conditioned sense of self that's limited to an individual and all its layers of identification into a transformed, awakened self that is more identified with totality. I don't know what your particular stance is in the evolution of consciousness place, but if that translates to, great. If not, whatever is going on, it has to do with the new you and the old you, and this internal struggle of energy, of power, of autonomy, of authority, and really asking yourself, where is my authority coming from? Is it coming from my heart? Is it coming from the depth of my wise self, my goddess self? Or is it coming from this limited construct that is based on a name and a point in space and time and a history and a set of ideas about what's right and what's wrong, and or blah, 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 whatever it's identified with? I think this is really a fundamental question to go along with this US Pluto return, what's happening in the headlines, and really the energy of this new moon. So that being the case, the oils that I would really be looking at are many of those that I've mentioned in the last couple of days. So I don't want to be too redundant, but I'm going to just keep it kind of trimmed as much as possible. I would say for clearing and really getting clear on what's truth and what's not truth, frankincense is definitely your number one. If you have a blend like Immortelle, excellent, because it's going to have so many of the real high frequency, potent truth bearers, so to speak. I would say that for cutting our connections to what is no longer in alignment with the self that we're birthing into being, and that self, let's start here, the self here, and then the self in terms of our community. This new moon has everything to do with the next 200-year cycle that we are creating for ourselves in both the individual level and also our community level, our planetary level, and really setting these intentions as a steward of the earth. But starting with yourself first, because that is ultimately, as we know, where it all starts. The other oils I would say to clarify some of these things are going to be oregano, which I know I mentioned last night, has a lot to do with arrogance and cutting cords with what no longer resonates and is healthy, whether it's people, places, or things. Lemongrass. All right, so let's get these out right now. Lemongrass, On Guard, thyme, and oregano would all be very good. Oh, and melaleuca. Melaleuca is super important in terms of cutting the old. So if we're jumping timelines, so to speak, in terms of really creating a new trajectory for the manifestation of our lives, these are going to be some of the oils that will be helpful in cutting connections with the old framework. The old framework that has its set of predictable results, because it's just replays of the same thing, different day. So melaleuca cuts cords. Thyme helps rid us of energies that aren't in alignment, aren't in resonance. On Guard, oregano, and lemongrass, all those will be great to put on the bottom of your feet in conjunction with a new moon ceremony of sorts, just envisioning what you're letting go of. Typically, new moon is all about what you're birthing into being, but with these frictionist energies coming toe-to-toe and the energy that ultimately culminates, I mentioned in another video, we've got an intense energy related to eruptive volcanoes, riots, earthquakes, riots, etc. That is actually happening direct on the 20th, which is the day of inauguration. So there's a lot here that, to me, in looking at the astrology, says we're not done with uncertainty and people and power struggles, basically. So what was my point there? I lost it because my phone dinged. Cutting attachments, keeping our cool are going to be breathe and cardamom, I mentioned yesterday. Peace would be a good oil to be using every day. Again, this energy is we're in the middle of it right now in terms of eruptive violence, eruptive earth things, this just really confronting within yourself what's not going to go forward into the new cycle. I would say peace is one to be using every day. This just tones down combative, heated energies that that little Eris within us that wants to fight, that Mars within us that wants to fight. This is just going to keep that calm, and it's also going to allow us to feel it, but not in a uncontrollable way. So peace, peace, roll on, peace, straight up. Breathe, cardamom, adaptive, another one that I've mentioned highly for just chilling us out. Balance would be another grounding. So those are all tending to the energies of just clearing. I would say that in distilling what we want to create going forward, I would pick an oil with clary sage. Clary sage has everything to do with accessing our inner wisdom and seeing with the eyes of truth. And that will be helpful as you cast your intentions tonight, and you probably have all day. But I would say that, and I'm going to echo what I said last night about the oils for manifesting our intentions. I would use anything with Litsea in it, which would be Air X, Stronger, DDR Prime. DDR Prime is also an excellent one for cutting patterns, birthing them into the new on a deeply epigenetic level, basically. Anyway, okay, so those will be some Stronger, Air X, Litsea, straight up if you have it, DDR. Oh, and also green mandarin. Green mandarin will be helpful in keeping a sweetness about putting out your intentions and being very clear on what you intend to create in the next new moon. I mean, in the next moon until the full moon. But being that this is the first new moon of 2021, the energy is really what you're putting out for this whole cycle. And again, this whole next 200-year cycle. So getting clear on not just the vision for your life, but the vision for your future generations and also the future generations of the planet at large, of humanity and all of the species. How, as stewards of the planet that we are, how would you like to vision the earth into being, which has power, has co-creative power? So anyway, I hope you find this valuable. This is a longer video. Again, I am working on getting into a rhythm that works for myself in making these videos. And I hope to get these out earlier so that then you can have some more time to listen to them than just right like within the few hours that I'm doing it. But bear with me. I am in the baby stages of this YouTube channel. I really appreciate you listening. I appreciate you liking, commenting, sharing. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me. If I can be of any service to you and your family, please reach out. There is a link to how to get a hold of me in the information below the title to this video. In the meantime, enjoy this clarifying, clearing, energizing, empowered energy of this new moon, and have fun casting your seeds of intention and taking care of yourself. So thank you so much. I will see you in the next video. Bye.